ends justify the means, and what I'm doing, is that going to get me to where I want to be at the end? Everything has a sole purpose, you know. Like, you essentially have to like step away from the heavy thing, so the heavy thing will work the next time you come around to it. Reps don't equate to absolute strength, so it's not absolute strength, but it will make strength. Endurance is something, you know.
It's time to sit down, keep it real, and cut the bullshit. Welcome to Table Talk.
I have a good feeling about this year. So like this year, I think it's going to be a little different than most years.
Well, in past podcasts, you've noted that you have certain checkpoints. Like, here's where you should be X weeks out. Here's where you should be.
I'll tell you right now where I'm at. I'm like, dude, I'm like 14 weeks out. Like I'm like way ahead. I'm like way ahead in terms of like how my body feels. Like, you know, Louis always talks about GPP and doing, you know, you do all these special exercises to bring up the weaknesses to help keep you in shapes type shit. But dude, this other stuff, it just like when you, we can just call it tying everything together. Like these little side things that are outside of powerlifting can contribute to that end goal. And I guess I'm very end goal oriented. Does the ends justify the means, and what I'm doing, is that going to get me to where I want to be at the end? Everything has a sole purpose, you know, like, so the main thing that I was looking at this time is all this back shit I'm doing, because Louis would hammer, you got to do more back, you know, yeah. So it's like, okay, I'm just going to hammer the shit out of it. And I'm kind of shocked to how it transferred over. And I didn't think it, you know, most times when you try something, it doesn't work that well. But, you know, when it's working for 5-6 people around you, it's like, okay, that was a good thing.
It's a good point you just made, though, that people need to understand is most of the times you try shit, it does not work.
No,
but
sir.
You still have to try the shit, right? So a lot of people won't, though. So
you can't ride two horses with one ass either. So if you're doing that, for the most part, you can't be like, well, I'm going to do back workouts on Monday. Then on Tuesday, I'm going to come in and I'm going to pull speed deadlifts. Then on Wednesday, like, you can't do that shit. That's a good point. No, you have to, and people fuck that up.
So this is a good point, and I can maybe elaborate on this a little bit. You're like, well, how do I even incorporate all this shit? So when I'm thinking like, how am I going to position these days in my current scope of training? My current scope of training didn't change. You know, Sundays are speed bench press day for me, dynamic effort benching. Mondays are a back day or a deadlift day. I'm off Tuesdays. Wednesdays is a heavy bench day. I'm off Thursdays. Fridays is squat, off Saturday. So like that split never changed. So like when I would go to the gym, like if it was a Sunday and it was a speed bench press day, I would do speed bench press oriented muscles in the bodybuilding gym. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So like,
but you're not doing the speed bench press.
Correct. Well, I will say this. I did it more so on the heavy stuff, and I kept the speed. So I kept the speed bench pressing as like a constant for explosive power.
Yeah, so the max effort was dumped.
Essentially, it was more like every other week. You know, I would kind of back that because dude, when you start hammering rows and biceps and your fucking forearms and shit get all torqued and you can't do. Mm-hmm. That's how you tear biceps and you get tendonitis and shit like that. And so I kind of prepared myself, you know, when I was going ham, you know, doing 4 and 5 plates on row machines until you just couldn't do it no more type shit. And I think you know, I hear people talk about, you know, I like Dorian Yates, you know, I'm a big Dorian Yates fan. And I know some people talk about not having to go to failure all the time, but that stuff works for me a lot. We used to do that stuff in Westside a lot. It's like speed bench press days, you know, you do your band sets and they pull the bands off and you do like a rep out with 225 or 250 or whatever it was. And then we would always try to push that number up, you know, and in that 3 week, you'd have 3 week wave. And one of those 3 weeks, typically it'd be in the second or the third, you would do that rep out. So, you know, you would do it bands and then you'd come around chains. And then that second or third week, you'd try to rep out again and try to beat the rep out from the 3 week wave before. So we do shit like that. And yeah, so
the reps tell you if you're right or wrong on what you're doing too. So if you do a 250 rep out set and you get however many fucking reps, and then you continue doing what you're doing otherwise, the next time you come around to that rep out set, if you do more reps with that same weight or the same reps with more weight, you know that your training is at least eliciting some sort of response.
That's a good
way
to put it.
And then you have like a constant. Yeah, because if all of a sudden,
kind of goes back to raising the average. You know, you have this average number and it just slowly raising it, almost like that pushes the max effort number. You get so close to it that it's almost like that overall average. Once you push that overall average up, it kind of like kicks the max effort forward. Yeah. Without necessarily, like, see, Louis will say reps don't equate to absolute strength. So it's not absolute strength, but it will make strength endurance is something, you know, like
well, it's just another indicator though for you to track if there's forward progress or regression.
And it does fucking matter also. Yeah. Like it does, like if you have a 225 set and you do more reps, it doesn't mean that your 1RM is better. But if you're doing more reps, that means you're better conditioned, you have more muscle, so that when you transition back over to get the timing back, you will have a bigger bench press because of that. Yes. But it's not like a 1=1 thing. And I think that's what people have a hard time with. Like when I come off of meet, like you're not going to see me pulling a max effort single. I'm going to pull, like I'm going to do rack pull triple or a double or something like that. And just to get the work in. Now, like if my double is a better, because if I PR my double, does that mean that my deadlift's up? No, not necessarily. It just means that from the last time I was in this training situation, I got a little bit better, and I have to trust that when I do take a single, the first time you take heavy stuff, it's probably going to feel disconnected or heavy because you're used to doing the reps. But in actuality, like if you give it the time, people are nervous to give it the time. Like even he's just said, he's like, I was pretty confident, but I wasn't 100% sure, right? And he's the best to ever do it. So when you've got Joe Schmo who's been lifting for two years, most of them are not going to have the confidence to say, okay, let's take 4 months to bodybuild, not take a heavy single, right? Still practice the lifts and everything, but not take, and then they take a heavy single, like, what the fuck, I didn't PR. Yeah. It's like, well, motherfucker, you've been training for distance running and you just took a sprint. You need to give it a second to like transfer over. Mm-hmm. You know, like I bet you in 3 weeks, if he pulled another 4-inch block pull, he'd PR the fuck out of it. Mm-hmm. But like, because he doesn't have to, because he knows that it's working. But people are scared of that. Like what'd you say? Delayed gratification. They don't. It's like you don't get to just like do bodybuilding training for 6 weeks, and then on 6 weeks and 1 day take a full gear free squat and PR your fucking free squat.
Be the greatest powerlifter of all time.
Yeah. It just amazes me that people think that you could. I mean, it really does.
They're like, why does this feel so fucking heavy? And it's like, well, motherfucker, because you haven't taken a heavy weight in a long time. Yeah. It's supposed to feel heavy. It is heavy. But like, you're not accustomed to that. You're accustomed to the other thing. Now let's use the other thing to help build the thing that you ultimately want.
It's like you essentially have to like step away from the heavy thing so the heavy thing will work the next time you come around to it. You know what I mean?
When going to your bodybuilding training, so I want to reiterate what Anthony was saying. You're not throwing other days in there. You're not being You're not having bodybuilding days and powerlifting days.
Because I was torn between that because
the whole powerlifting world gets fucking flipped upside down. We'll see guys doing
well I don't have time to do this and
back off sets in their suits or whatever.
It's like what are you actually doing in there? You know what I mean? Like you shouldn't be in there any more than a few. I mean, some of those back workouts took a few hours. Sure. You know what I mean? But
so same days you're just trading out the movements. But my question is, when you're doing the movements in the higher rep ranges, how are you doing? What is the intent of those movements? Are you training them like a bodybuilder where you're trying to slower tempo?
It's all tempo, dude. So this is something else I noticed, and this is wild. So one of my Achilles heels, and I'm always very introspective on myself, is like I don't have super grip strength. You know what I mean? I got an 800-pound deadlift, whatever, but I don't have super grip strength. I probably couldn't hold on to 900 if I tried. And I started, doing those, just getting on those machines, whether it's a row machine or some kind of shrug machine or like a lat pull down machine. And, you're doing, I learned this from Scott Mendelson. When I would go out to California with him, we go to Venice Golds, and I'm just like, what are we gonna do in here? I'm so rooted in West Side. I'm used to being I'm like, how is this gonna work? And all I would watch that dude, he would just go, he would do half the stack, full stack, add a piece of weight on top, like that. It didn't matter what it was. It could have been a bicep curl, it could have been a lat pull down, it could have been a calf raise. It didn't matter what it was. So tempo, I think, is building grip strength. When you're sitting there just holding on, and I think it's the mind to muscle thing. I watch people train all the time, and it's like, dude, you're doing tendon presses. You're not even in the muscle. You know what I'm saying? Like a tricep rollback. You know what I mean? You're not even in the tricep. If you watch people do a kettlebell benches and they're just sitting there benching. You know what I mean? And it should just bounce all over the place. It's like that's not helping anything. It's like, so there's something to like the tempo. that builds the mind and muscle connection. I think it builds muscle, you know what I mean? Contraction. I found that, like, you know, obviously when you're sitting there contracting all the time, it's kind of like a rack pull. Why does rack pull make your fucking upper back and your trap so big? And because you're sitting there straining so hard on it all the time. So I have kind of like straining and like tempo. I kind of like, they're kind of like cousins to me, you know, like I kind of view them the same.
Explain the tempo a little bit more to me. So say you're doing a chest supported row.
Yeah.
Like you can sit on there with your strength and probably put 6 plates on there and hammer out a set of 10, or put 3 on.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So it kind of also depends on where I'm at. So if I'm closer to meet, I'm going to be stronger. You know what I mean? I'm going to use heavier weights, you know, or I'm somewhere out right now, three and 4 plates on something like that. You can still get a whole lot out of. A lot of the tempo stuff for me is like 5 and 6 seconds back, 5 and 6 seconds forward type stuff, you know, real, just staying in it. You know what I mean? A full, you know, what do you want to call it? I don't know.
He trades all of his
full range of motion.
He trades all of his accessories pretty slow as far as tempo. Yeah. Just like from, you know.
No, I think that,
like I said, it's hard to evaluate yourself. Like I learned a lot. I trained because like people would take like their speed bench workouts and then you watch them doing like some overhead press after and they're like, gah. And it's like, no, dude, like you need to, he got me to like, it's like, no, dude, like we're just pressing and bringing it down. And it's smooth, and you're just staying in the muscle. Like when you're training speed bench, you're training for speed, and when you're doing the accessories after, you're training to put muscle on.
Yes,
you know what I mean. And and that, I think people miss that. No one's gonna be like, how explosive can you do a tricep push down? Who gives a fuck?
But this is a tough one, man, because it's one of the things I train or that I teach during the clinics is, you know, how to train like a bodybuilder, right? Because you can use that tempo, say on a chest supported row, and go to failure. But then I can say, okay, now fucking give me 8 more. And when you go into like full drive powerlifting tempo, you can do. You
got to learn to get into gear, and I think developing gears and see, bodybuilding will give you a whole other kind of gear. I mean, if you got muscle, you see those dudes that just got big muscles over there. Like, how does that guy even doing like a curl with 3 plates? You know, it could be anything. But brain fart, help me.
The tempo as far as keeping the gears or the gears is what you were saying.
So you need different gears, different gears.
So the bodybuilding gear is a slower gear, which is a tighter gear.
Especially when you're in like when you're using multiply gear, for example. Like things don't happen fast. Bad things happen fast when you put gear. You know what I'm saying?
That's a good point.
So like that bodybuilding gives you that, like, it's almost like that 4-wheel drive low gear.
But the point I'm saying is most people don't do that because they just see 3 sets of 10. So then when they go to do it, all they want to do is do 10.
Correct.
But if they keep the tempo and the gear slow like you're talking about, they may fail at 6, but they're not going to let themselves fail at 6. So they're going to start to go faster and cheat.
Make it hard. Make these things hard. It's like I can fucking...
Heavy, not hard. There's heavy, not hard, and hard, not heavy.
Yes, elaborate.
So I can, like he was saying, like I can do a skull crusher with, take an easy curl bar and put 10 pounds on each side in a miniband. And I remember Travis Fletcher, he taught me that we do these things called 8, 8, and 8s. We do 8 off our head, 8 off, we do it 8 presses and then 8 back off our head, and that would burn you out. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But that thing would make you, somehow it would just, there's, like Donnie Thompson would say, there's just things that do things that science can't, there's just things that work that science can't explain, and they just work and you do them. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And that's just kind of like one of those weird things that, like,
they're hard. It's difficult, but you can't really put your finger on why it is. And when you say hard, not heavy, or heavy, not hard, like, I think of, like, when I hear that, I think of the, like, narrow stance, low box squat, right? And Lou explained that to me.
So, like,
it's like the weight's not going to be, it's like, I'll take fucking 900 pounds to a regular box in fucking briefs, no problem. But you can get a similar stimulus by going to a low box, narrow stance. You're only going to hit 5 plates, 6 plates. It's going to be fucking hard, but it mitigates the amount of weight, the amount of weight you're putting on your back. It helps save you a little bit, and you're going to still get a good strain. I think the tempo stuff does the same thing.
Yeah, that's a good point. Of hard, not heavy. So like where Louis would say intensity, he would use the word intensity. You would wave the intensity. So that's kind of like what that is. You know, if I'm doing tons of reps, throwing a band, that's making it more intense, increasing the tempo, things like that is like hard, not heavy. Low ass box squats with sub-maximal weights, just super low, full range motion type stuff.
Deficit pulls.
Deficit, hard things, like things that you're not going to be going heavy on because they just can't really, but your body responds because it's hard.
And it's the strength curve, right? So it's like you're going to get the same stimulus. That's how Lou kind of explained it to me. It's like, so if you take 900 to a 14-inch box, right? So you move it however many inches, it's 900 pounds, right? And you move it from here to here. And then you take 4 inches off of that, and now you're going whatever, I forget how many I said, but you're going to a 10-inch box now, right? Not only is it 4 more inches down, it's 4 more inches up too, motherfucker. So you just added 8 inches to the movement on the bar, right? So it's almost double the amount of time that you're under that weight. So yeah, you might take 1,000 to a box, you might take 500 to a low box. Your body, what did Louis used to say? It's like, you get beat up in a dark alley, you don't know who did it, you just know you got beat up.
Yeah.
Same sort of fucking thing, right? So it's like, you can get that stimulus. So like, of course he could put on fucking 7 plates on chest supported row and just blast them. But instead, so he doesn't kill himself for no fucking reason, it's like, if I can get, you said it to me, I believe it's like, what's the lowest weight that you can get a stimulus from?
Yeah,
it's kind of like that's like what I was trying to explain earlier. There is a number that is so low. Like what is the least amount I have to do to get something?
People think that's lazy, but it's not. It's smart.
It's actually harder if you do it right.
Well, and also I think that I said this the other day where it's like it will take, we all had those crazy times where we trained insane, like, everybody went through that time, right? And it's kind of like a battle of attrition, who can get further, right? So the controlled training with the looking at it from a larger perspective, it gives you the opportunity, like, it might take you longer to become elite, but once you become elite, you will be elite for longer. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to take longer because you have to recover from every stimulus you put in.
Well, I mean, my squat jumped 175 pounds in 18 months because I trained like an asshole. You know what I mean? I just happened to stay in one piece.
Yeah.
So my squat went from pretty good, really good locally, pretty good nationally, to a top 10 all-time squat in my weight class in 18 months, right? I stayed together for that, and then I kind of got fucked up. I had to slow down and be smarter about it.
Yeah.
So it got me to be elite very quickly in that particular lift.
Sustainability, auto-regulating, like you talk about.
How long can you stay here? Like, how many motherfuckers do you know with barbell tattoos that don't even lift weights anymore?
I know quite a few that I could name by name.
You know what I'm saying? They're all doing gi and no gi training now instead of lifting weights. And guys who used to beat you maybe when you were younger aren't lifting weights anymore. And now who's the fucking king? And there's guys who used to kick my ass all the time that I don't even know if they lift barbells anymore.
Well, it sounds like to go back to a story that you were telling earlier, that your JM press sounds like an example of this. So the JM press before, in the AM crew compared to the night crew. So walk through what that story was.
So it was, when I first got to Westside, I could do like a plate and a quarter for like, 5, 7, whatever. And Lou had me really push those to a point where I did 2 plates quarter, like to my neck. It was either 3 or 5, right? My bench went from, in a shirt, 520 to 525. For what? And my elbows hurt all the fucking time. For what? And then I go with him, and we're doing skull crushers with a quarter on each side, or a dime and a band, and my bench goes from 570 to 640.
So what's the difference with the tempo with these?
Well, the other ones, you're just trying to survive it, right?
You're
like, I am gonna not die right.
Yeah, you're raging out 5 reps.
And then, but with these, it's more so like I would literally try to put my fucking mind in my elbows. And like him, sometimes we'd be training, I'd be like, how many are we doing? And he'd just do them till they're fucking hard.
Oh, that's another thing I'll touch on.
It's not 12 reps.
Like some people's burn is not another person's burn. My burn is not his burn. So like, dude, people come up to me, how many reps are we doing today? It's like, dude, just go fucking do them. Like,
they want the secret, Dave. What's the secret?
The secret is you.
What's the secret?
That's the secret. You have your own set of limitations. Like, you need to understand and figure them out. Like, 12 reps for me is not 12 reps for you. Like, I was telling Kovac this when he tore his pec. Like, we've been killing the bamboo bar, putting the hanging kettlebells and all that shaky shit. And we're starting out, 10, 15 reps, and then it's 20 to 25 reps, and then it's add a kettlebell, get into the 30s, add another, as time progresses, you're adding kettlebells and adding reps, because you're getting stronger, you're starting to bounce back from whatever problem he had, like tearing his pec. So
we go to chalk, and it's just goop.
Yeah.
It's probably kind of like what you were talking about.
Yeah, I like those days, though. Like I said, like when it gets really hot in there, we had a squat session last week, and it's fucking hot. And I just I looked at one of my guys, and I'm like, I could tell they were kind of dragging ass. And I was like, I like it when it's
I
like
love
this.
this shit.
Because it's
yeah.
You have to change it. Like once it gets to that point, you just have to embrace the suck. You people say that shit, but
you change it. You redefine it.
You have to become aggressive with it. Like I fucking like this now.
It makes me feel like a psycho, because I'm like, let's fucking go. Let's lift weights. And then it kind of reminded me of like playing hockey or football, you know what I mean? Like where your coach, it's like double sessions beginning of the year, and it's like, I have to fucking survive this, and every other pussy is throwing up or whatever, and I'm like, nah, I want more of this. And it kind of puts me back in that mindset. Now, because we're not a private gym and we want members, we try to keep it kind of cooler.
Yeah.
But like at night when we're training, it gets fucking hot in there.
Bad times don't last, but bad guys do.
Yeah, I enjoy it quite a bit when it gets like the cold. I can't do.
You got to do the NWO Scott Hall.
I can't do the cold. The cold bothers me more than the hot.
Yeah,
a cold gym fucking bums me out.
Yeah,
especially the older you get. Or not that I'm old, but like my training age, I would say, is rather old.
It's harder to grease the wheels. When you first get in there, it's
just,
like motherfucker.
No, it sucks.
It feels like I'm molten in granite, and I'm just like, just.
They used to have a space heater in the doghouse when Val first started training there. We first moved to Ohio. She'd go down to Laura's twice a week, and then the other 2 days she'd train at Doghouse, and I'd help her when I got out of work. And there were a couple times she'd go in there, and there's this little, it was before Jimmy fully took it over, remodeled. It was when it was just the one side. And there was this little, it was probably 12 inches by 15 inches, like this little fucking space heater that you'd stretch the cord for as long as it might
you'd
be
put
able
the bar in front of it to warm the bar
yeah,
up.
that was you try to she'd try to squat, and she'd say her hands hurt grabbing the bar and shit.
Yeah.
It's it makes you feel grateful when you're not in a situation like
dethaw
that.
the bar. I guess for both of you, how has your training changed? Because you just kind of touched on it throughout. I don't want to say training age, just biological age, just as you've matured as humans, right? Because you start out just a fucking high school kid, no responsibilities and nothing. So it
pull the trigger on everything.
Right. So it's crazy. And then you go through all these phases of either education, marriage, all these different things that life happens.
Yeah.
What are the bigger things that you can think of that have changed throughout your training at a macro level?
So mine's a little unique because I started powerlifting a little later in life. This is my 9th year of competing. I haven't been to 10 years yet, but I played hockey my whole life, and I was a skateboarder and shit. So I had a lot of, Kellen said, a lot of salt on the hull. My body was beat up before I started.
Miles.
I got some miles on me before. I'd already had knee surgery before I even started playing or started lifting weights competitively. So I kind of started late, which made me feel like I had kind of nothing to lose. So I trained really recklessly. My late 20s, early 30s. I'd only been in Multiply for less than 2 years when I went to Westside. So when I got there, it was just it's psycho time. I'm just going to do everything crazy. And for a while it worked. I think I started to slow down when I had a pelvic floor injury that gave me a really hard time squatting. And I had to kind of figure out that whole thing, everybody talks about, we didn't know what we were doing until we sat down at breakfast. And that's kind of true, right? Mm-hmm. It might've been very true when you were there. And when I was there, it definitely was a thing. But when it really changed when Dave kind of looked at me and said, bro, you can't do a pin 3 quad purple band rack pull and then fucking 2 days later get in a bench shirt and try and do something cool. It's not going to fucking happen, right? You got to back off. So it started in a way to just set up better training days. That's when my training kind of changed from the psycho time to that, right? And then it's kind of, I've used that to mold around, like, as I've gotten a little older, what I have to do to stay whole, right? And some of the stuff I do less of, and some of the stuff I do more of. Like, so for me, I couldn't do like a raw ass to grass squat with a narrow stance 3 years ago because it hurt my fucking knees, like my hips, like it just didn't feel good. I was always wide, and we're going to a box or we're in gear, like that's it, right? Even on some of the deload days we would do, you know, where we would just fuck around with a Mars bar or something, like it was terrible for me.
And that works. Thank you guys for coming out.
Yeah, man. Thanks.
We'll have you back out after the meet to be able to recap. And do
I'll bring you the new belt and show you the new one.
So it'll be what, 5, right? Six. And we're done.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Boom! Let's play the video. We're not even going to worry about the breathing in part, but just lock this all in.
Bracing here is hard, which is why it's easier to do on a squat than it is at the bottom of a deadlift, right?